everyone, this is Sandhya. I hope you all fit and fine at your homes. Today we will continue with history. Before that, children, we know that due to COVID pandemic, the whole world is struggling. Isn't it right? So, we started video lectures. It is easy to connect with you all, and this will help us to cover the syllabus and to maintain the flow of study. Please, you must take advantage of this opportunity. Today's our topic, India after independence. Children, after a long and difficult freedom struggle, India attained her independence from British rule in 1947. However, this independence came with the partition of the country. A new state of Pakistan was created with portions of western and eastern India. After independence, a constitution was framed. New states were formed, planning for the development of the country. History teaches in detail about the scenarios mentioned all. In conclusion, it discussed the nation after 60 years. In this chapter, we will study about India after it achieved independence in the year 1947. Let us move on to the topic. A new and divided nation. Unity, development goes hand in hand if the divisions between sections of India were not healed. They could result in violent conflicts. For example, Hindus versus Muslims, high caste fighting with the low caste. Children, India got independence on 15th August 1947, as you know that. Soon after its independence, it faced a series of challenges. Due to partition, nearly 8 million refugees had come into India. These people needed homes and jobs. Then there was the problem of the princely states. They were about 500 in number. So each Raja or Nawab was persuaded to join the nation. A new political system was to be made in order to serve the country in a better way. In 1947, India's population was large. There was almost 345 million people. They were divided into various castes and religions. Their languages was different and religions. So, where their food habits, it was not an easy thing to make them live together in one nation. Not only this, there was a need for development also. A vast majority of Indians lived in the villages during independence. Farmers and peasants dependent on the monsoon for their survival. So, did the non-farm sector of the rural economy. For example, if the crop failed, the barbers, carpenters and weavers were not paid for their services. In cities, the factory workers lived in the slum areas which were crowded and unhealthy. There was no access to education. So, unity and development had go to hand in hand, because if there was no unity among different sections of the society, it could result in conflicts. On the other hand, if development cannot reach everyone, it will create a division between the rich and the poor. So, due to such things, it was decided to write a constitution for the country. A constitution is written. The Constitution of India is a document that establishes the political values, the powers of government, and the rights of the citizens of the country. It is the supreme law of India. Children, almost 300 meetings of the Constituent Assembly took place at New Delhi between December 1946 and November 1949. The participants at these meetings were from different political parties and from different parts of the country. These discussions resulted in the framing of the Constitution of India, which came into effect from 26 January 1950. One feature of the Constitution was universal adult franchise, as we discussed in political life. That is, the right to vote was given to all Indians who were above the age of 21. This was a revolutionary step. It allowed Indians to choose their leaders. In other countries, such as the United Kingdom and the United States, the right to vote was first granted only to the men of property. Then the educated men were added. Working classes men got the right to vote after a long struggle. American and British women were granted the right to vote after a long struggle, whereas India granted this right to every man and woman irrespective of gender, class, or education. Children, the second feature was that each and every citizen of India was equal before the law and regardless of caste or religion. Through many people wanted to run India as a Hindu state by pointing out the Pakistan was formed in order to protect the Muslim right, but the the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru appointed that it could not and must not become a Hindu Pakistan. India has a mixed population of Muslim, Sikhs, Christians, Parsis, and Jains. Under the new constitution, they were given the same rights as Hindus received. The same opportunities were also provided for seeking jobs in government or the private sector, and the same rights were given before the law. The third feature of the constitution was that it offered special privileges for the poorest and most disadvantaged Indians. The practice of untouchability was abolished and entry of low caste into the temples was allowed. The Constituent Assembly also recommended that a certain percentage of seats in the legislature as well as in government jobs reserved for member of low caste. Some people argued that some Harijan candidates did not have enough grades to enter into the prestigious Indian Administrative Services exam. To this, HJ replied that it was due to oppression by the high caste which had continued for so many decades that they had lost the ability to think. Along with them, the advisors or scheduled tribes were also granted reservation in seats and jobs. Many days were spent in deciding the distribution of powers among the central and state governments. Some members were of the views that power should be given to the provinces also so as to manage the country well, whereas same wanted it to be kept with the center. To balance these claims, three lists of subjects were provided in our constitution: union list, state list, and uh, current list. Children, union list it uh, had subjects such as taxes, defense, and foreign affairs, which were the exclusive responsibility of the center. Then what about state list? State list had education and health, which would be taken care of by the states. And last but not least, these subjects such as forest and agriculture were included, which were the joint responsibility of both the center and the state. Children, now the next concern was related to the language. Many members wanted to replace English language with Hindi, but some members like Krishnamachari said that if Hindi would be imposed on the South Indians, they would get separated from India. Finally, a compromise was reached in which Hindi was taken as the official language of India and English was to be used in the courts, the services, and communication between one state and another. Through many people contributed in framing of the constitution, but the most crucial role was played by the chairman of the drafting committee. He is none other than Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar under whose supervision the document was finalized. In his final speech to the Constituent Assembly, he said that political democracy had to be accompanied by economic and social democracy. According to him, the mere right of voting would not remove the inequality between rich and poor or between upper and lower caste. He even added that the new constitution would face some contradictions, such as the constitution provided equality among all and the principle of one man, one vote, and one value, whereas in social life, this opposite was practiced. Through problems were being solved step by step. By that doesn't mean that they had ended. The new question that arose was how to form states. How were states to be formed? In 1920s, the Indian National Congress amended its constitution and recognized its regional branches on the basis of linguistic groups. Prime Minister Nehru and Deputy Prime Minister Vallabhbhai Patel was against the certain linguistic states. Children, if we talk about 1920s, the Indian National Congress had promised to make separate provinces for separate linguistic groups after gaining independence. But when India got its independence, the Congress didn't do anything to fulfill its promise. The riots and kings which were seen during partition were so horrible that Congress decided not to make further divisions on basis of language. Both Prime Minister Nehru and Deputy Prime Minister Vallabhbhai Patel were against the certain of linguistic states. As Nehru said, distributionist tendencies had come to the force. To check them, the nation had to be strong and united, or as Patel added, the first and last needed of India at the present moment is that it should be made a nation. Everything which helps the growth of nation has to go forward, and everything which throws obstacles in its way has to be rejected. We have applied these tests to linguistic provinces also, and by these tests in our opinion cannot be supported. This really disappointed the Kannada speakers, Malayalam speakers, and Marathi speakers who had been looking forward to have their own state. However, the strongest protest came from the Telugu speaking districts of Madras Presidency who wanted to separate states named Andhra. In 1952 general elections, Nehru faced black flags and slogans of "We want Andhra" during his campaigns. In October 1952, uh, Putti Sriramulu went on a hunger strike demanding the formation of Andhra. He died after 58 days of strike on 15 December 1952. The news of his death widespread, and it was so intense that the government was forced to make a new state named Andhra Pradesh. After this, many other linguistic communities start demanding a separate state. So, a state reorganization commission was set up, which submitted its report in 1956 recommending the redrawing of districts and provincial boundaries to form compact provinces of Assamese, Bengalis, Oriya, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, and Telugu speakers respectively. The large Hindi speaking region of North Indian was also to be broken up into several states. In 1960s, the state of Bombay was divided on the basis of Marathi and Gujarati speakers. In 1966, the state of Punjab was also divided into Punjab and Haryana, in which Punjab were for Punjabi speakers who were mostly Sikhs, and the latter for the rest who spoke Haryani or Hindi. After creating various states and delegating powers between the centers and the states, now the country decided to develop itself. For this, planning was done in order to develop the country. Planning for development. In 1950s, the government set up a planning commission to help design and execute suitable policies for economic development. It was agreed that India would follow mixed economy model where both public and private sectors would coexist for the economic development of the nation. Dear children, the major objectives of the new nation was to lift India and Indians out of poverty and also to build a modern technical and industrial base. A planning commission was set up in 1950 to help in designing and executing suitable policies for economic development. The country wanted to have development with the concept mixed economy. Now, here mixed economy means an economy where there is participation of both public and private sector for the development of the country. So, the need of the hour was that both state and the private sector would play important and complementary roles in increasing production and generating the jobs. The roles mentioned here were what has to be planned by the Planning Commission. In 1956, the second five-year plan was formulated. A five-year plan is a plan made by India for the next 5 years to decide what type of development it wants to achieve for itself. So, when the second five-year plan was formulated, the main focus was on the development of heavy industries such as steel and on building large dams. These sectors were kept under the control of the government. The focus on heavy industry and the effort of keeping economy under the state regulation for the next few decades was supported by many. Though there was some opponents too, through there were some opponents same as like people felt that the second five-year plan had not put an advocate emphasis on agriculture. Others said that primary education was not given due importance. Some people thought that it had not taken account of the environmental implications of the economic policies. But Mahatma Gandhi's followers, Miraben, wrote in 1949 that since and technology can earn huge income for a time, but later on if we don't try to maintain nature's balance, then we will not be able to live a healthy and morally decent life. Soon after gaining independence, India had to decide its foreign policy. Also, as the decades of 1950s and 1960s saw the emergence of the Cold War between the two powers, that in the USA and the USSR. Both the countries were creating military alliance, but India had just attained independence from the colonial rule and so had some other countries too. Therefore, Nehru was also the foreign minister of newly independent India. Development free India's foreign policy in this concept. Non-alignment formed the bedrock of this foreign policy. The policy stated to stay away from alliances but to remain aloof was not the main element, as India played an important role in mediating between the American and Soviet alliances. So, now we know that after attaining independence, the Indian policymakers had to go through so many details to frame various policies for Indian, and not only this, there were huge hurdles in their path. Somehow they managed to make what was good for the nation. So, what has the nation achieved after 60 years of its independence, and what is still left to be achieved? Let's discuss it now. The nation 60 years on. On 15th August 2007, India celebrated 60 years of its existence as a free nation. In these 60 years, India has seen many achievements as well as failures. Dear children, on 15th August 2007, when India celebrated its 60 years of independence, it proudly stood as a united and democratic nation. Isn't it right? A democratic nation is a country where the government is by the people, for the people, and of the people. Isn't it right? And many foreign observers felt that India could not survive as a single country and that it would split into many small countries on the basis of linguistic groups, as we discussed previously. Others said that it would come under military rule, but this did not happen, and the best part is that as many as 13 general elections have been held, as well as hundreds of local and state elections have been held since independence. We have a free press as well as an independent judiciary. That means that there is freedom of speech and expression, and no one can influence the judgment for his or her own benefit. The people follow different faiths and speak different languages. This does not come in the way of national unity. On the other hand, deep divisions persist through dialects or the untouchables were guaranteed equality in the constitution. They still face violence and discrimination. In many parts of rural areas, dialects are still not allowed to use water from the common source, enter temples, parks, and other public places. Not only this, despite the secular ideas, you know already secular ideas ensured in the constitution, still there are clashes between different religious groups in many states. Even the inequality between rich and poor has grown over the years. Still, some parts of India and some Indians have benefited from the economic development. They lead a luxurious life as they live in large houses, send their children to expensive schools, etc. At the same time, many others still live below the poverty line. Their life is miserable. Either they live in under slums or in remote villages. They cannot afford education for their children. According to the constitution, everyone is equal in the eyes of law, but in reality, some Indians are more equal than others. Children, but we can conclude that the Republic of India has not been a great success, but it has not been a failure either. Children, if you want more information regarding to this, you may collect through the net or books or magazines. Here activity for you, design a poster on the topic India of my dream. Let us have a quick look at today's lesson summary. Partition created a number of problems for independent India. First and foremost task was to rehabilitate the refugees who had come into the country from the newly born Pakistan. The problem of development was another major point. Indian economy was very weak at the time the country got freedom. Farmers and peasants depended on the monsoon for their survival. Our constitution guaranteed equality before the law to all citizens regardless of their caste or religious affiliation. The practice of untouchability was abolished. A certain percentage of seats in legislatures as well as jobs in government was reserved for members of the lowest caste. Another major problem was that of the formation of state. Both Prime Minister Nehru and Deputy Prime Minister Vallabhbhai Patel were against the certain of linguistic states. Children, last but not least, children, do not focus on what you cannot do. Take a look at what you are capable of. You feel confident and learn new things along your way. Learning will continue even during this crisis. Stay tuned for more video lectures on social science. Keep learning. Have a good day. Thank you.